Well, this is episode number 3, and this is a story about why Buenos Aires looks like Paris. It's called the Paris of South America. And there's a reason for this, and the reason is that Guillermo Rausen was the minister of the Interior of Argentina in 1863. And he was a public health doctor. He's Dr. Guillermo Rausen. And he was an expert in public health. He wrote a book about public health. And evidently the book was read in Paris by Haussmann and Napoleon III. And at the time, in 1870s, I think, or 1860s, they decided, Haussmann and Napoleon III, they decided to completely demolish the right bank of Paris because it was an unhealthy place to live. It was terrible. It's why the royalty lived in Versailles, in the suburbs away from Paris. They didn't want to live in the Louvre because it was an unhealthy place to live. So they got to talk to Guillermo, Dr. Guillermo. He came to Paris. He visited often anyway, and he told them that what people need to be healthy, is space, a lot of space, and that was the reason why the right bank of Paris was, unhealthy, and so they took his advice. And Napoleon III, who was the son of the brother of Napoleon, became emperor in 1860s, I think. He ordered the demolishment of all of the right bank of Paris. They completely destroyed it. Urban renewal, right? And in the place of that, after they got finished, they put in big boulevards, grand boulevards, beautiful parks, lots of space, and redesigned Paris, and this is the Paris we know today. The truth of Paris is the whole right bank is no older than 1860, 1870, except for a few buildings. I think the Louvre, which is the original Royal Palace, is still the original building, and then the Crillon Hotel, which is at the Place de la Concorde, where they beheaded Louis the 16th. Is still there, but everything else on the right bank was completely taken apart and redeveloped. So Paris is beautiful because of this redevelopment, which happened, 150 years ago, not that long ago. And the Arc de Triomphe, the Eiffel Tower, the Champs-Élysées, all these things you hear about, they're not that old. If you want real history in Paris, you have to cross the river and go to the left bank, which is where Notre Dame is, and Sorbonne University, and that goes back to the Roman Empire. In fact, that area was not called Paris, it was called Lutetia, and it was in the Roman Empire, and Sorbonne University is called the Latin Quarter because the original classes at Sorbonne were taught in Latin. And then later, this all became part of Paris. So that's where history is on the left bank of the River Seine. So then what happened was Guillermo Rausen, part of the deal that he made with Napoleon III and Haussmann was, if I do this, if I help you design Paris to be a healthy place for people to live, I'm the Minister of Interior. I have control of all the money, the government money in Argentina, and Argentina is a very wealthy country, and at the time, very wealthy. And I will pay for you to come to Buenos Aires, and I'd like for you to make Buenos Aires look just like Paris. And so they made an agreement, and that was the agreement. And so Haussmann came to Buenos Aires, and he designed downtown Buenos Aires. And if you go to Buenos Aires today, you will notice something interesting. The metro signs in Paris are the same as the ones in Buenos Aires. The design is exactly the same, designed by Haussmann, right? And Buenos Aires has big parks and boulevards, just like Paris does. except Argentina had more money than the French, or they weren't willing to spend it, and the buildings in Buenos Aires are bigger than the ones in France. But it's same basic design, beautiful big boulevards and parks, all of that. And so that is why Buenos Aires looks like Paris, is because of Dr. Guillermo Rawson. And in my previous story, I talked about him. My name is the same. My name is William Rawson, but in Spanish it's Guillermo, and in Argentine Spanish, which has an influence of Portuguese from Brazil, they would say Guillermo. They pronounce the double L differently in Argentina Spanish. So Dr. Rawson, who was the Minister of Interior, paid for the redesign of the city of Buenos Aires. And that's why today it's a beautiful city. So it's kind of an interesting story. So it was an Argentine guy who helped design Paris. And that's why Paris is a healthy place to live today, because of the big parks and boulevards. And also, of course, Napoleon III loved the idea of the big boulevards. Why? Because he could march armies back, down those boulevards and show off his army. So there was a military component to the redesign of Paris as well. But basically, it was a public health issue, and this is why royalty lived in Versailles, which was outside of the city of Paris, because Paris was an unhealthy place. But today, it's very healthy. So people live on the right bank, and it's a beautiful place. But there's no history. Well, there is history here, but it's only 150 years old. Okay, on the right bank. And I'm on the right bank right now. In fact, I'm at the Gare du Nord at a coffee shop. In fact, I'll show you. And you can see, there it is. That's the Gare du Nord. That is the train station that you take to go to London. Okay? And so that's the biggest train station, I think, in Europe. And it's the Eurostar, which goes to London. And so this is a good place to have a cup of coffee, because you're across from the train station. And I bought this cup of coffee because I didn't get a buy me a coffee today. It didn't happen, but c'est la vie, So I actually had to pay for this out of my pocket. But it still is a free service, so you're welcome to listen to these stories. And I like telling them because it's good for me, because I can kind of remember things that I've done, in my lifetime that have been fun, and I can kind of relive them. So I'm enjoying this. And I hope you find it interesting. So anyway, if you like this, buy me a cup of coffee, because I have a coffee every time I do this, okay? Anyway, so have a good day, and this is my third story, and there'll be more, and I have other stories to talk about, and they're not just about Argentina, they're about other places I've been in the world and done things. New York, Los Angeles, Thailand, all over the world, basically. So, okay, this is it.